Classic Country, 100.1 WGLC. Good morning. It's Music and Stuff, presented by Eureka Savings Bank, the best place to borrow, the best place to save. And it's Music and Stuff, and we're talking about the music of Glen Campbell today. And joining us on the phone from Phoenix, Arizona, it's Glen Campbell's daughter, Debby. Good morning, Debby.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing good. Enjoying some great music from Glen Campbell today as we honor what would have been your father's 82nd birthday. Thank you for taking some time to talk with us this morning.
Oh, not a problem. Yep. Dad was the best. His music is timeless.
And you spent quite a bit of time with your dad in Branson and performing with him. To go to that just right off the bat here, what was it like sharing the stage with your dad?
Oh, I mean, it was just not overwhelming in a bad way. It was overwhelming and just, wow, I couldn't believe I was on the stage with him, at times. And not only him, but with Andy Williams. Especially when we were at the Andy Williams Theater. But Dad and I had some wonderful times. We were just two people on stage having a great time. And I have such great memories that I'll cherish forever,
How many days a week did you guys perform?
Well, sometimes we'd only have like one day off. And some days there'd be 2 shows a day, and other times there'd be 1 show a day. It just depended on the schedule that week.
That's got to be the tensions there. Sometimes would have to get high working with family. I can imagine there'd be moments on stage giving each other the look out of the corner of your eye about what is it you're doing next.
No, you know what? Dad and I really never had that. I mean, everything always went really pretty smooth, maybe I can count on one hand, a couple of fingers over the course of 24 years that I was with him where we really had an issue,
Well, that's awesome to hear. Of course, Debby Campbell, daughter of Glen Campbell, on the phone with us this morning. And how many years did you guys perform in Branson?
Gosh, I don't even know that right off the top of my head. We started going there in 1987. I started at the Roy Clark Theater, and then I think it was the Grand Palace, and then they opened Dad's Theater, and then, I remember going there in 1987, or 88, in those years at the Roy Clark Theater, so a long time. We were there for many, many years.
And you guys performed on stage quite a few songs. What was one of your favorite songs to perform with your dad?
I loved Let It Be Me, but my most favorite that Dad and I did was Say a Little Prayer, and By the Time I Get to Phoenix. I would sing Say a Little Prayer, and he would intermingle Phoenix into that song, and we would end up together at the end of the song. It was just, it was very fun to perform. It was everybody's favorite. Outside of Let It Be Me. And then, of course, we did Little Green Apples, Dream, 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 Dream. And then we throw medleys together, United We Stand, that he did. A lot of the Anne Murray stuff that him and Anne Murray did together. Dad and I would do those songs. And we just did an array of songs over the years.
And you're still out and around and performing here and there, right?
Well, I just started. I hadn't really gone in the studio since 2011. And a friend of mine who sings, Bobby Wilson, his dad was Jackie Wilson. He said, Deb, you need to get back in the studio. Here's my producer. And I him-hawed around for about 5 years. And finally I called him. And so I just, the CDs went out on Friday in time for Dad's birthday. I just did a tribute CD in the studio, composed of most of his songs. I think there's 2 songs on there that aren't Dad's, but one is a song about Alzheimer's and the other one just, it says, it's the leader of the band, a Dan Fogelberg song. I did that because it just speaks volumes, about the leader of the band, which was Dad, of course. And so the fans, that's coming out today on his birthday. They've all been mailed out, and I went into Nashville and signed 1,000 of them.
Oh, boy.
I know. I signed 1,000 booklet covers because I made a little booklet with some pictures of Dad and I in it to go into the first 1,000 CDs.
And if somebody's looking for that CD, where would they find that at? www.plateaumusic.com. It's Plateau music.
But I just got back from Ireland last week. I went over and did an Alzheimer event, and I did one in Manchester, England in November. And my manager, Marianne, who's been my best friend for over 30 years, and my manager back in the day when I had my own little band while I was also singing with Dad, she said that she's had some offers coming in that want me to get back out on the road. So I guess we're going to put a show together and go do, a couple shows here and there. It's not something I'm looking to do, trying to get into and make a career. I have a career. I've been a flight attendant for 31 years. So that's pretty much a career.
Well, I will make sure we put a link up for those interested in picking up that CD to our Facebook page so our listeners can grab that CD and listen to it and some of the stuff you've been working on. And again, of course, the devastating impact of Alzheimer's has affected your family. And, of course, thoughts with everybody about what happened over the last couple of years with your dad. And a difficult thing for everyone to sort of be on the sidelines and be a part of that. And Alzheimer's affects so many people all around the world, and it's glad to hear that there's still people out there trying to raise awareness and try to get funds devoted to trying to do something to combat that devastating illness. This morning, Debby Campbell, the daughter of Glen Campbell, on this Glen Campbell's birthday. It's Music and Stuff here on Classic Country, 100.1 WGLC. Now, your dad spent a bunch of time with tons of different musicians in the early days.
Oh, yeah.
There was a laundry list a mile long of people he's shook hands, played with, and everything else. Did Dad ever share with you any stories on some of these folks, these crazy characters he played around with?
No, we really didn't. No, we didn't. Not really. I mean, none that come off the top of my head this morning. But I know that, he's Vince Gill, Keith Urban. He played with Brad Paisley on stage. Dad was the man that people looked up to as far as the guitar, definitely. He just had an amazing talent, Some of his closest friends that he's played music with, Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings, the old school guys. Mm-hmm. Those were his some of his best friends, Roger Miller.
Yeah, the company he kept was unbelievable, especially in the early '60s too, when he was just a session guy. It's just amazing if you just look at the body of work that he contributed, and some of that obviously influenced him and his songwriting and his performing as well. Now, you spent quite a bit of your time in Branson with your father performing and playing. Is there anything that you really took away from that you still carry on today when you perform?
No, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think about it, I guess, when I go on stage, Well, when I'm singing Dad songs, I think, I have an ache in my heart, of course. Mm-hmm. But I just, it's not as far as performing, but as far as just being who you are and being real and being good to people, because we're all out here trying to make a living some way, somehow. Some make it a lot, some make it as a singer, some make it as a musician, some make it as a flight, you know what I mean? We're all the same. We're all in this world fighting to do the same thing, just have a good life. And so just be good and kind to people, and Dad was. That's why his fans were so in masses, because he just was a good person. You couldn't take the country out of the boy, that was so true. So true on many levels with Dad,
And that's Debby Campbell talking with us this morning, daughter of Glen Campbell. Now, you've spent a lot of time with your father and, of course, listening to all his great music. Have you ever been somewhere in your travels and just heard one of your dad's songs out of the corner of your ear and went, oh, yeah, there he is?
Yep. I'm like, well, now it's like, hi, Dad. I know you're watching over me, and when lately I've been doing a lot of international flights, and so I tend to go through thrift stores, like over in England and Ireland. I love thrift stores. They're fun to go through. And I'll come across a vinyl, with Dad on it. I go, okay, I'm going to take you home. I can't leave you over here hanging out in Europe, So I've got a whole closet full of vinyls. But it's good because I have 3 kids, so I'm trying to make sets for each one of them,
Well, that's awesome. So, yeah, you're a flight attendant now in between the recording career. Not going to pry too much about what airline or anything, but how many days a week are you on the road doing that then?
Well, since I've been off for like a week and a half because I had to go to Ireland to do that show, I go to work this afternoon. I fly for 3 days. Then I land on home on Tuesday. I go back out Wednesday for 3 days, come back Friday, go back out Saturday for 4 days. So I'm paying the piper for being off.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so I'll be out for the next 10 days. But, I landed home 2 of those days, to refresh.
Crazy times on the road, either performing or just doing work. Either way, still a fun time. And I guess to get sidetracked here for a moment, what's the best advice you can give to an airline traveler that'll make your life easier on a plane?
Just get there on time. Just show up on time and just be calm and be polite to your flight attendant. That will make your life a lot easier.
So any chance of getting an extra cup of soda, or is that going to be off limits? Probably. Yeah. Debby Campbell.
It's like if you just treat us like we're regular people too, instead of waitresses in the sky. Be kind to your flight attendant.
Debby Campbell on the phone with us, Glen Campbell's daughter. Thank you for hanging out with us this morning on Music and Stuff on this, which would have been Glen Campbell's 82nd birthday this morning on Classic Country, 100.1 WGLC. I'm Charles, and Debby performed with her father many times in Branson, Missouri, and around, and did some recording as well, right?
Oh yes, I'm on a couple of his albums. I can't tell you which one's offhand, but I am on it. I am on the South Dakota Symphony. Definitely, we did that one, and that was made for. They made a video of it, and so I did Let It Be Me and Little Green Apples on that one.
And that's got to be a fun treat when your dad asks you to come on into the studio and let's go ahead and lay this down. Was it nerve-wracking the first couple of times?
No, not at all. I mean, Dad was a perfectionist, but I didn't find it nerve-wracking. I find it fun. Going in the studio is a blast.
That's great, yeah, because I've talked to some people who said their first time in the studio, the perfectionist thing, I understand that. I know a couple of up-and-coming musicians in the area, and their first album they've been working on for like 3 years because they're just never satisfied with anything. And there comes a point when you just have to pull the trigger and just let it go and just go ahead and throw it out there and hope it's good enough for what you want to do. It's funny to hear that your dad being a perfectionist, just because of the tremendous body of work. You'd think occasionally at some point he'd just look down at the watch, look up at the wall and go, that's good enough.
Right. Well, Dad never rehearsed. So we went, like when we would do the European tours, I mean, we did Australia a couple of times, New Zealand, and we did maybe four tours off the top of my head. I can remember over in England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Dad and I would travel at night. The band would travel during the day. And so after a show, we'd get in a car and drive onto the next town. And then the band would follow during the day on a bus the next day. They would get to the venue set up. We would just show up. Dad would never, ever rehearse, ever, unless he was doing something new. And then he would go in and rehearse. But so everything was just always set up for him,
That would cause me some considerable nerves. I would.
Really? Well, that just shows he had a great band. He had a great band. He had great sound guys. The sound guys traveled with us. The house sound and the monitor on the side. They all traveled with us, so they knew their jobs, and Dad didn't have to worry.
Wow. So and your dad did quite a few TV shows and the like too. Appearing on quite a few things. Did you ever have the moment where you were flipping through the channels and caught Dad and went, wait a minute?
Well, I would know. I would go first if he was on. And I did a couple of shows with Dad too. Did the Ralph Emery in Nashville. It changed names a couple of times. Nashville Now.
Oh yeah. I
remember singing on that with Dad back in the 80s. And and I remember Paul Overstreet was on, and the Whites were on that show. And and then I did the Grand Ole Opry with Dad. That was nervous. I was so nervous for that, but it was fun. It came off great.
Yeah, the Grand Ole Opry is one of those stepping stones that all country music artists are like, well, I've made it to the Opry, and they didn't boo me off the stage, so.
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. Debby Campbell joining us on the phone this morning here on Music and Stuff on what would have been Glen Campbell's 82nd birthday. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule today to get a hold of us. And again, you have that new CD out today, and it's available at plateaumusic.com. I'll put the link up for that. The CD is called The Way We Were.
Yes, absolutely. And it's songs that I would have never done The Way We Were ever in a million years, ever, because it's been done by everybody under the sun. But the ironic part of it is that Barbra Streisand was mine and Dad's favorite singer, and so that's the meaning of putting that song on there. Plus, I figured that when I go out and do a few shows here and there, I could sing that at the end of my set, and I have a video that's been made of all pictures of Dad and I, in the background. And it just is very, I did it over in Manchester, and it was very touching and emotional. I have to remember not to look at the screen when I'm singing it because I tend to start crying, But, yeah, and then other songs that were some of my favorites that Dad did that are from some of his albums that maybe weren't hits, but they just are great songs. I Will Never Pass This Way Again. That was mine and Dad's favorite song. So I did that. And, so and of course, Phoenix. I did Phoenix because that's where it all started. That's where I first started singing with Dad, was here in Phoenix. And so it means a lot to me, the CD, and I'm pretty proud of it.
Well, that's great to hear, Debby Campbell. And do you have any dates planned in the summer or any time to go out on the road again, maybe do a couple of shows?
I do. I'm doing a show June 7th in Nashville it's the Second Generation show. So that's going to be exciting. I was contacted by this girl named Melissa and her father. I believe it's Melissa Pullman.
Okay.
With that Bob or Bill Pullman, I'm not positive of the name, but I'm doing it. Vince Gill's daughter is in it, Jenny Gill. George Jones and Tammy Wynette's daughter is in it. Berlin Husky's kids are in it. So there's at least, I think I saw the poster, and I believe there's at least like 10 of us that are doing it.
Well, that sounds great.
I know. It sounds like fun. So I said, sure, I'll come and sing a couple of songs. I'd love to be a part of y'all's thing. So that, things here and there. And then, of course, there's the Arkansas Hall of Fame Awards are June 4th, and they're actually honoring Dad. So I'm going to go and be a part of that. And just anything. Anybody wants me, I'm ready to come and sing some songs.
Well, awesome. Well, we look forward to talking to you whenever you got something else going on. Thank you for spending time with us this morning. Debby Campbell, daughter of Glen Campbell, on this Glen Campbell's birthday. Thank you again for hanging out with us, and you have a good day at work today.
Thank you so much, Charleston. Thank you. Happy birthday to my dad, and thank you to all the fans that loved and are still listening to him.
Classic Country, 100.1 WGLC.